Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of the Second Chair Leading with Purpose podcast. My name is Tyler Walker, and today we're going to be diving into the real, the unfiltered side of leadership. That kind of like those big, glossy church conferences, if you will, they never really seem to touch on these hard topics. And I love those conferences. I love them so much. You know, I've traveled all over to the most prestigious church conferences where everything looks so freaking polished and perfect on stage. But let me tell you something. I want to be really real here. Behind the scenes, I know for a fact it's a different story. You know, I want us to imagine today that we're at one of those fancy galas and everybody's dressed to impress. And it seems like everything's running so stinking smooth. But head to the kitchen and it's a whole different scene. You got the chefs yelling, you got dishes flying, you got cooks cussing. I mean, it's total chaos. And some of our churches look like that. It's messy, it's raw, and it's where all the work happens. And that's what we're doing here today. We're not just admiring the glossy surface of leadership, but we're going to dive into what I would say is the messy, the chaotic reality of leading from the second chair. You know, we're going to tackle the tough issues head on, guys. We're going to share practical tips that have worked for me for all these years. And most importantly, we're going to keep it so stinking real. So I need you to buckle up. I want you to get ready. We're about to dig into the nitty gritty challenges and turn these messy moments in our life into powerful wins. Are you ready? Are you ready? So leaders, welcome to the kitchen of leadership. So let's get cooking today. All right, so now that we've set the stage for the raw, the unfiltered reality of second chair leadership, let's jump right into it. You ready? So we've all been there. We were caught in the thick of it. Right now we're doing it. We're in the trenches. We're dealing with challenges that often don't get talked about in those conferences we mentioned earlier. But before we do all of that, what does it really mean even to be a second chair leader? So I want us to get real. I want us to clear this up right out of the gate. This most certainly is not about you being second best. No, I think rather that this is about influence. This is about your influence without the title. I am so stinking over titles. I'm tired of everyone thinking you need a title to do something in the church, to do what God has called you to do, to lead that business. But let me tell you something, SCL, that's what, second chair leaders, you guys are the glue that holds the team together. You are the strategist who makes the vision of your senior leader a reality. You are the person who makes sure everything is running smoothly and done with excellence behind the scenes, or maybe even rather, you are the one making it run smooth in the kitchen. So what does your kitchen look like today? You know, your business, your church, your influence. So I believe one of the greatest things I've learned in leadership is influence is greater than authority. Well, I think one of the most powerful aspects of leading from the second chair is realizing early that influence often trumps authority. Nobody cares about your title, guys. You don't need a title to lead, but what you do need, you need this right here. You need influence. And influence, let me tell you a little secret, is not just given. You have to earn that thing, baby. It's earned by showing up early, showing up consistently. It's earned by supporting others, by making things happen when truly others can't. You know, when we lead from a place of influence, what really happens is we create these ripple effects in our organization that touches everybody. It touches everybody in our small groups, our businesses. It touches everybody. So I want to share a little story. I remember a time when I was working alongside my senior leader, which I always did. I was the right-hand guy, you know, and my senior leader had these big, lofty ideas. I mean, huge ideas, which I really like. That kind of vision. But guess what? The truth is those ideas were nothing without someone to execute them. They need somebody like a second chair leader to make that happen. That's what happens. That's where the second chair steps in. I was the guy, and I'm sure you're the guy, you're the girl who's making sure the wheels don't come off the freaking bus. So let's be real. And when the senior leader stood on the stage, this is what I realized. When they were giving that big message on Sunday mornings, that big speech, I knew down deep that Tyler Walker had a hand in every word that was being spoken, every decision that was being made, and every success. That's the power of the second chair. That's the power. So I want to ask you a question here today. Those of you who are watching, or listening, I want you to think about your role. How are you using it to influence today? How are you influencing today? Are you steering the ship behind the scenes, making sure everything's on course and done with excellence? Or, like so many leaders, are you still waiting for someone to notice you? Are you still waiting for somebody to notice your potential, to give you a title? Remember, influence is earned. It's not given. So stop waiting around for somebody to give you a title because you think that's when influence will come. No, you got it right now. So how are you earning yours? How are you earning your influence? So what is the major pain point we're tackling today? I think it's this. It's the feeling of having influence. You got influence, but you really don't have the authority to back it up. You have influence. You're a second chair leader, but you don't have that authority. So I kind of want to break that down and explain that a little bit, right? So for second chair leaders, having influence, but lacking that authority can be one of like the most frustrating aspects of this role. I want us to imagine having a vision, which I know as a second chair leader, you have a vision, you have brilliant ideas for the team, for the church, for the organization, for the business, but being unable to execute it because you don't have the final say. It's kind of like being the coach who can strategize the game plan, but doesn't get to decide the lineup. Like you don't get to decide the 53-man roster. You don't get to do that. So I know as a second chair leader, you got the expertise. And I know you have the passion. That's why I'm standing up. I can't sit down. I got too much passion in me. But the power to make things happen is kind of out of your reach. And I know this dynamic here can kind of create feelings of being undervalued and can sometimes lead to resentment or burnout, if we don't manage that well. So I want to just really quickly, I want to talk to my senior leader real quick. All right, senior leader, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this, first of all, thanks so much for watching. I know this is going to help your church, your organization, your business. But as a senior leader, I think understanding that your second chair leader, your SCL, has significant influence and their ideas are crucial, okay? Your SCL has a deep, deep understanding of the day-to-day operations because they're in the trenches. And I know they have insights that are valuable, but really can't act on them because maybe the lack of authority that they have. So, senior leader, let me just throw this out there to you today. I love you, appreciate you. We can't do what we do without you. But when you hold back authority, when you don't let them have authority, essentially, this is what you're doing. This is what you're saying. You are killing their creativity and you're dragging down your top team members. So, because this is what I've learned, when people can't make decisions, they lose their drive and great ideas get squashed. So I want to back up. I want to give some practical tips for our SCLs. This is what you need to be doing right now. You need to build relational equity. Okay. You need to invest time in building a strong relationship with your senior leader and team. You need to build that relationship because here's what I know. Trust is the currency of influence. The more you're seen as reliable and committed, the more likely you are to influence decisions. This is what I want you to do. I want you to share your successes and insights in a way that highlights your value without overstepping. And I also want you to start asking smart questions because second chair leaders ask smart questions. So instead of like just pushing your ideas out there, I want you to help maybe guide and steer your senior leader to see the value. They've got to see the why. They've got to understand the value of your suggestions by asking insightful and clarifying questions. I know for a fact that this method is not only helps in shaping decisions, but it also demonstrates your strategic thinking and respect for the decision-making process. And then number 3, guys, you have to become a solution leader. You're a solution leader. That's why you're a second chair leader. When you identify a problem, and you will because there's so many, you need to come prepared to the table with a well thought out solutions. What this does is it shows your leader that you are not just highlighting issues, okay, but you are proactive in resolving them. Your senior leader will value your input more when you can provide what? When you can provide an actionable, effective solution. So don't just come to the table with, wah, this is wrong. No, you come with the methods to fix it, okay? And then maybe some tips for our senior leaders. I want you to involve your second chair leader earlier on. So include your leader in discussions and decision-making processes from the beginning, okay? from the beginning, not the middle or the end, but from the beginning. And what this does, it not only makes your leaders feel valued, but it also leverages their expertise and insights effectively. Remember this, leaders, your second chair leaders are in the trenches every single day. They know what's going on, all right? And number two, senior leaders, create space for feedback. I want you to establish regular check-ins with your second chair leaders where they can provide input and feedback. I want you to show your SCLs that you value their perspective, and you listen actively. That's the key too. You got to listen and consider their ideas in your decision-making processes. And then number three here, senior leader, I want you to delegate authority thoughtfully. Give it some thought. So I know you need to make the final decision. I get that. I respect that. But delegate some of that authority or decision-making responsibility where possible. And what this does for your leaders, your team, is this empowers them and it shows that you trust in their capabilities. And pain point number two, which is great. I've been there. Burnout from carrying too much. And I want to explain that. We carry a lot, second chair leaders. We often juggle multiple responsibilities from managing teams and projects to handling the day-to-day operations, right? All while trying to maintain some sort of personal well-being. I know over the years, the weight of these duties can quickly lead all of us to a space of burnout if not managed properly. Been there, done that. It's kind of like being a circus performer who's expected to juggle flaming torches and no one notices when anything fails or falls. So this is what I know. When burnout sets in, it's terrible when it does, but it's just the truth. It impacts not only your performance as a leader, but it affects the overall health and effectiveness of your team and your role. So, senior leader, I want to real quick, burnout is so real, and among your second chair leaders can have just negative impact on your entire team, on your entire church. Okay. So, if your leaders are feeling overwhelmed, their ability to support you and lead your vision and mission effectively just diminishes, okay? It's important to recognize these signs of burnout. It's important to recognize it and then be proactive to help prevent it from escalating. That's your job as a senior leader, okay? Don't forget that. Your team matters, okay? So tips for some SCLs when it comes to this. You need to prioritize ruthlessly, okay? You need to focus on the tasks that align with your strengths and delegate, or even quite frankly, eliminate those other tasks that are just less critical and just not in your wheelhouse, okay? I want you to use tools. There's methods, technology for time management. Time blocking will help you so much to ensure that you are working efficiently and not overloading yourself. And then second, you need to implement some systems. All right. We live in 2024. There's technology for everything. You need to develop and use systems and processes to streamline your work. Okay. Get out of the 80s, the 90s, 2024. You need to delegate tasks. Okay. You need to empower others and you need to take on responsibilities. Okay. They need to take on responsibilities, creating a more balanced workload. And number three, second chair leaders, you need to set some boundaries, okay? You need to establish clear boundaries between work and personal time, okay? You need to ensure you have a regular downtime and activities outside of the church that rejuvenate you, okay? Church is not always going to rejuvenate you. It's okay to say no to additional responsibilities if they threaten your well-being, okay? You have to have the gift of no. The gift of no, so you can say yes to the things you need to say yes to. So maybe some practical tips for our leaders, our senior leaders. This is what you need to do with your second chair. You need to make sure you're monitoring their workload, okay? You need to regularly check in with your second chair leader, regularly, every day, once a week, okay? You need to see how they're managing their workload and stress. I also believe as a senior leader, you need to offer support and be proactive in addressing any signs of burnout, okay? As a senior leader, you need to encourage balance. You need to promote a healthy work-life balance and encourage your second chair leader to take breaks and vacations, okay? I know, church, we all want to say it's a 7-day thing. You're always on call, you're always on duty, but the truth is there needs to be balance, okay? So help them see the balance and live out balance as well. And number three, you need to provide resources. Offer counseling, offer coaching, some sort of professional development that can help manage stress. I personally do not manage stress well. I needed help in that area, and I'm so glad that I found help, okay? We need to help them maintain their well-being as senior leaders, which leads us to our pain point number three. As second chair leaders, we often feel like we're unseen, we're undervalued, okay? I really want to explain that. So as a second chair leader, we often work behind the scenes. Probably 95% we're bits behind the scenes. And so while we play a critical role, our contributions, our efforts, our sacrifices, they go unnoticed. That's just the truth of it, which can lead to feelings of being undervalued and can ultimately impact motivation and engagement. So I want to think like this. It's kind of like being the backstage crew, right? The sound guy, whatever, in a production. You're essential to the show success, but rarely are you ever on stage or are you in the spotlight. So when efforts aren't like recognized, it's demoralizing, and that really can make us question our impact. So for senior leaders, this is for senior leaders and second chair leaders. We're creating this health here. As senior leaders, you need to recognize the hard work of your second chair leader is essential, recognizing it. So when your leader feels unseen or undervalued, their motivation and effectiveness will suffer, okay? But what you can do as a senior leader is acknowledge their contributions. And when you do that, what you're doing is you're kind of like fostering a culture of positive and productive work environment, okay? So again, tips for our second chair leaders. I want you to find value in service. That's why we are here. We are here to serve. So shift your focus from seeking recognition to valuing the impact you make behind the scenes. I really want to see you start to embrace the role you play. And you need to begin to understand that leadership is not always about the spotlight, but making a difference. I know it's hard in today's culture and world, but it's not about you, boo, right? And then so number 2, I want you to communicate your wins. Communicate your dubs. I don't care how big or how small. Regularly update your senior leader, second chair leader, on your successes and your progress. I want you to share specific achievements and how it contributed to the overall success of the church. I want you to do this, right? So what this does is it keeps your contributions visible. It keeps your contributions and highlights to show how valuable you really are, okay? And number 3, I want you to build a support system. I want you to create a network like second chair leaders. And I want you to create a network of peers and mentors, a community that appreciates and acknowledges your efforts. I believe this, having people who understand and support you can provide motivation, but it also can bring that validation beyond the immediate workplace. All right. So here we go. More tips for our senior leaders. This will help you. You got to be very strategic though, but you need to publicly celebrate your second chair leader. You need to celebrate their achievements. And by that, I mean, you just need to acknowledge their contributions. Acknowledge what they're doing in public. I want you to acknowledge what they're doing in team meetings, email blasts, Facebook, social media. And what this does, this recognition, it reinforces their value and it will boost their morale. They need your affirmation. And number 2, offer specific praise. Be specific. Get detailed, man, about the feedback on what your second cheerleader has done well. So instead of like this generic praise, I want you to be specific about their contributions and the positive impact that they've had on your life, on your church. But I also want you to do this. I want you to try to begin to invest in their development. I want you to show your appreciation by investing in their growth. Maybe it's through mentoring, maybe it's through training, maybe it's through opportunities for advancements, maybe it's those conferences. Invest in them, because what this does is it demonstrates that you value their contributions and that you are committed to their future. They need that affirmation from you. And then pain point number 4 is this. This is a tough one, right? It's navigating loyalty and conflict. You mean that there's conflict in church and business? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Here's what I know. SCLs, we often find ourselves in the middle of conflicts between different factions within the team or even the church. So they need to balance their loyalty to the senior leader with their responsibility to the staff or congregation. And I know that this can be very, very challenging, as it requires navigating personal dynamics, relationships, and maintaining that neutrality, if you will, while striving to resolve conflicts. It's kind of like being a referee in a high stakes game. You're expected to manage the play without favoring either side. And that's tough, because you hear and you believe what they're saying, but your senior leader says this, and you're kind of stuck in the middle. You're leading from the middle. All right. So for the senior leader, your SCL, your second chair leader, is often in a challenging position, right? They're trying to manage conflicts that arise within the team, arise with the congregation, and their ability to handle these situations effectively depends on your support and how you trust them. So if they feel like you back them, if you support them, I promise you they will handle conflicts more effectively. So what are some practical tips for our second chair leaders? Second chair leader, you are the bridge. You are the bridge. You are focus on the resolving conflicts rather than picking sides, right? We need to use our position to facilitate communication and understanding between different parties, all right? So your goal as a second chair leader is to what? Is to find solutions that serve the overall mission, not just mediate. How can this serve the overall mission? You ain't there just there to be a counselor, all right? And number two, I want you to have the crucial conversations earlier on. Address conflicts before they escalate. Don't wait for issues to become major problems. Deal with them promptly and constructively. So get on it. You know what you need to do. And number three, I want you to stay mission focused. You need to keep the mission and goals in mind when you're navigating conflicts. Keep the mission in mind. I remind everyone involved of the common purpose and work towards solutions that align with the overall objective. All right, that's what you're doing. And then for our senior leaders, some practical tips would be this. Remember, your second chair leader is in place for a reason. You need to trust their judgment. Trust them. Your second chair leader often has a better understanding of the team's dynamics. Remember, they're in the trenches, right? Trust them. Trust their ability to navigate conflict and support them in their efforts. And number two, and a great thing you could do is publicly back them. Back them publicly. Show your support for your second chair leader in public settings. What this does is it kind of like reinforces that authority and helps them manage conflicts more effectively. And number three, practical tips for our senior leader is provide that support. Provide that support. And second chair leader, listen to the support. Listen to their guidance and resources to help, the second chair kind of handle those conflicts. And, ensure that your team have the tools and backing they need to succeed. And this brings us to the pain point number 5, the last one that we're going to talk about today, and that's vision alignment. A major challenge for second chair leaders, I don't mind saying it, is staying aligned with the senior leader's vision. That's the hardest part. When the vision is unclear, when they're not fully bought into it, it can lead to frustration and disconnection. So imagine you're trying to lead a team on a journey where you're unsure of the destination. You're essentially working without a map. So misalignment on vision can lead to what? It can lead to inconsistent efforts and missed goals, and it creates this sense of purposelessness. So for the senior leader, if your vision isn't communicated effectively, this is what happens. It causes confusion, okay? It causes disengagement among your leaders. So as a senior leader, you need to ensure that they understand and are committed to the vision. This is key to achieving your goals as a church, as a team, as an organization, as a business. So let's take a step back. Let's talk to our second chair leaders for a second. Some tips here for navigating the vision and alignment. You need to get clarity early. So if you're not sure, it's okay if you're not sure about the vision, but you need to seek clarification immediately. Make that call, send that email today. Don't wait for misunderstandings to accumulate. Get ahead of this. Ask questions, remember, and get clear understanding of where you are headed. And then once you understand where you're going, number 2, you need to own that vision publicly. Own that sucker like it's your baby. So once you have clarity, I want you to fully embrace, I want you to fully promote the vision. Share it with your team with great enthusiasm and commitment, right? Your belief in the vision will inspire others to follow. So own that thing. Let's go. Own it. And number 3, you need to give feedback, but then you need to submit too. So offer that feedback to your leader on the vision if necessary. But once the direction is set from your senior leader, you need to align your efforts with it. So show that you are adaptable, show that you are committed, even if it means adjusting your own initial ideas. Those 3 tips are going to help you, second chair leader. And here's 3 tips for our senior leaders. I want you to try these 3 things. I want you to communicate clearly, and I need you to communicate often. So regularly share and reiterate your vision with your second chair leader. Okay. Make sure they understand how their role contributes to the broader picture, the broader goals, the mission, the vision. And number 2, involve them in vision setting. This will be so helpful to you, I promise. I want you to include your second chair leader in discussions about the vision. Okay. Their insights, because they're in the trenches with the people every day, can help refine the vision, but also can make it more impactful. Okay. And then lastly, number 3, I want you to provide vision-driven feedback. So provide vision-driven feedback. So when giving feedback, leader, relate it to how well it aligns with the vision. What this will do is it'll help your leaders, your second chair leaders see the bigger picture and understand the importance of their role. Okay. All right, guys, we have made it through the first episode. We've covered a lot today. I know leading from the second chair is not just a job. It is a calling, okay? It is an absolute calling. It's a position of incredible influence. It's incredible responsibility, but also opportunity. You have the power to shape the direction of your organization, to support and elevate those around you, and to lead with these 3 things here: purpose, passion, and conviction. So as we wrap up this first episode, I'm so humbled and honored to do this today. I want you to take a moment and think about your leading, how you're leading in your second chair role. What can you do today to lead with more intention, more strategy, and more influence? Okay. And if this episode resonated with you today, would you do me a favor? Will you share it with somebody who needs it? Share it with your team, share it with your colleagues, share it today. Let's build a community. I want to build a community of second chair leaders who are committed to what? Committed to excellence. They're committed to growth, and they're committed to making a generational, a lasting impact. Guys, I cannot thank you enough for joining me today on the Second Chair Leading with Purpose podcast. My name is Tyler Walker, and I cannot wait to dive into more with you next week. Remember, your role matters. And together, we're going to do what? We're going to lead with purpose. We're going to lead with passion, and we're going to lead with power. Guys, here's what's happening on our next episode. Next time on the Second Chair Leading with Purpose podcast, we're going to unpack the concept. Oh, wait, you ready? Drum roll, please. We're unpacking the concept of leading up. How do you influence those above you without overstepping your boundaries? How do you build trust? These are great questions. These are questions I know second chair leaders are asking right now. How do you build trust and credibility while still honoring the chain of command? I know it's going to be so much fun. It's going to be a game changer, and you won't want to miss it. Guys, thanks for tuning in. The very first episode of the Second Chair Leading podcast. Have a great day.